times when it appears that a disability is obvious. Say someone's in a wheelchair or they have a service dog. Sometimes you can tell just based off of someone's behavior, and some people just physically look different. While it is apparent that some people have a disability, that's not the case for everyone. In fact, 80% of people who have a disability have a hidden or invisible disability. I personally think that invisible disabilities need to be talked about more, and people need to be educated about what an invisible disability means and why that's important. Essentially, an invisible disability is someone who has a disability where it's not visible right away to you and it's not obvious that they have a disability. And this is important because people with invisible disabilities can kind of be ignored and not get the help they need just because it's not apparent that they have a disability or that it's a challenge. Also, people can be rude about it and say, oh, you don't have a disability because I can't visibly see it. And then they can be treated differently because it's not apparent. Something that is super important to keep in mind is never question someone when they say they have a disability. I do recognize that there are people out there who are pretending to have a disability, but we need to believe people when they say they have a disability. It can be really frustrating for people with disabilities to not get the resources and aid that they need. Let's talk about what qualifies as an invisible disability. So this could be anyone with a disability where it's not apparent, but some examples are chronic illness like fibromyalgia, mental health illnesses like ADHD, anxiety and depression, neurological conditions like epilepsy, multiple sclerosis, and there's also people with sensory impairments who have a visual impairment, a hearing impairment. It's not always obvious that people have these disabilities. I think overall people have this perception that someone who has a visual impairment, for example, is visibly visually impaired. For example, my eyes look different. If you can look at my eyes, you can see that they don't look normal. And there are plenty of other people who visibly have eyes that look different. They can't look directly at you. Their eyes are glazed over. Their eyes move or shake. However, there's still people who are blind and have low vision who look totally like they don't have a visual impairment. I think there's multiple layers to whether someone has an invisible disability or not, and it could be situational as well. For example, if someone who has a visual impairment looks like they look normal, but they have a visual impairment, and then they have a guide dog, that could clue people in right away that they have a disability. There are scenarios where they won't always have the guide dog with them though. And then maybe there's times where it's not apparent that they have a disability. A book that I highly recommend that everyone reads is Disability Visibility. It's a collection of first-person stories of people who have invisible disabilities and how that's impacted their life. This was a great resource for me to begin understanding what it's like to have an invisible disability. I'll make sure to link that book for you if you want to check it out. Not only can a disability affect someone's physical well-being, it can also affect their emotional or mental well-being as well. When there's challenges that you're facing where people can't see it, there's lots of misunderstanding and judgments that come with that. There are several myths out there about invisible disabilities. One myth is if you can't see someone has a disability, then they don't have one. That's absolutely ridiculous that people think that, and it's so not true. Another myth that is heard a lot is people with invisible disabilities are exaggerating or faking it. Most people with invisible disabilities are being diagnosed by professionals, and just like any visible disability, they can range from being mild to severe symptoms that come along with that disability. Another myth is if someone who has an invisible disability is not asking for help, that it means they're totally fine. This also is not true. While I don't have an invisible disability, I can tell you, even with a visible one, it can be challenging to ask people for help when it comes to my disability. Sometimes it's embarrassing, sometimes it's inconvenient, sometimes it's just not worth being judged for. So I can totally understand why it'd be even more significantly challenging to ask for help when it's not apparent to other people. People with invisible disabilities also need accommodations and help with their disability. So if you're out and about and you see someone using an accommodation like a parking stall or a bathroom or anything like that that's specifically for someone who has a disability, do not be judging them because you don't know whether or not they need to be using them. And also, please only use them if you have a disability, because when you're using an accommodation that someone truly needs, it's taking their ability to use it because you're using it when you could use any of the stalls that are out there. If you know someone with an invisible disability, feel free to offer them help, but don't push it on them. If you offer help and you say, hey, if you need help, let me know. But don't be like, oh my gosh, you have a disability, let me help you. I am insisting that you let me help you. No, just knowing that someone's there and that they can go to you when they need help is perfect. In May 2016, a sunflower was made the symbol for hidden or invisible disabilities officially, specifically in the Gatwick Airport, and was first initiated by Ruth Rabbit to help people who have invisible disabilities make it known to people in the airport that they might need assistance with things. Since May of 2016, this movement has grown rapidly. It all started in UK first, and then it started rolling out to other countries. It wasn't until 2020 where the sunflower was recognized in the United States as a symbol of invisible or hidden disabilities. You now can go to pretty much anywhere, a supermarket, you can go to public places, events, and people should be trained. Now, I don't know whether they are or not, but they should be trained that a sunflower means that someone has a hidden disability. Now, keep in mind that not everyone out there is going to be comfortable and wanting people to know that they have an invisible disability. This is just an option for people who have those invisible disabilities that want to make it more apparent to other people so that they can more easily get the help that they might need. It's totally optional thing and you don't have to do it, but it just gives them a way to make it known to other people if they want to reveal that information. The organization that created hidden disabilities and the symbol of the sunflower has a website where you can go and get a lanyard that has sunflowers on it, and it has a card where you can put what information you want on it. It's totally up to the individual who gets it to put what they want, but they have icons that are specifically made so that it's easy for someone to identify what they might need help with. I think this is a wonderful way to give people with an invisible disability the opportunity to make it more known so they can get the help they need. By you watching this video, you have a great start on understanding what invisible disabilities are, and I'll go ahead and link below different resources that you can continue to learn from. I'll make sure to put the Hidden Disabilities website. I'll make sure to put some YouTube channels of people who share their own story. I'll also have that book that I mentioned. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to share them in the comments below. You can now go watch this video where I talk more about the difference between a visible and an invisible disability if you want to see more. I hope you all have a great day. Bye!